Ever since Putin installed a very long table in the Kremlin and decided to go for a 2.5-year, so-called 3-day invasion of Ukraine, attacks, threats and sabotage has increased tenfold in the Nordic countries. Today we'll look at why and how Russia has been attempting to destabilize the Nordics for as long as Putin has been in power. For this video, I'm bringing in my Norwegian friend Magnus. He's a well-versed international relations specialist who will add his thoughts to this video alongside my own. I hope you can give him a warm welcome.
Thanks, Max. We start off with the kind of sabotage that affects almost all the Nordic countries, namely cable and communications sabotage. Norway, Sweden and Finland have long noticed the trend where Russian submarines and trawlers will idle along communication lines, often followed by breaches of connection. Greenland's cables, crucial for connecting Europe and North America, have been identified as potential targets. The Faroe Islands' underwater infrastructure, due to their strategic North Atlantic location, is similarly at risk of Russian interference.
Russia's most powerful soft power weapon is their hacking operations and cyber espionage. All Nordic territories report issues with extensive attempts at hacking, and Russia often targets governmental organizations and election software. In Iceland, suspected Russian cyber activities targeted the country's energy sector in 2020. Similarly, Sweden has been a frequent target of Russian cyber attacks, such as the 2017 attack on the Swedish Transport Agency, where Russian actors accessed sensitive government data. The Faroe Islands, while not widely reported, are strategically located and could be targeted in future cyber operations, particularly concerning their fisheries and maritime industries.
Russia employs disinformation as a key tool to spread its propaganda in the Nordic countries, aiming to sow discord and undermine trust in democratic institutions. By flooding social media and online platforms with fake news, misleading narratives, and conspiracy theories, Russia amplifies divisions within Nordic societies on issues like immigration, security, and EU membership. These disinformation campaigns often target sensitive topics, such as NATO's presence in the region, by spreading false claims that stoke fear and mistrust. Additionally, Russia manipulates public opinion by promoting narratives that paint the West as aggressive and hypocritical, while portraying Russia as a victim of Western hostility. This strategy not only destabilizes the political landscape, but also weakens the ability of Nordic countries to respond collectively to Russian threats.
During the 2017 Finnish municipal elections, Russia was accused of spreading disinformation aimed at discrediting pro-NATO candidates. Similar tactics were observed during Iceland's 2016 presidential election, where false narratives circulated about the candidates' affiliations and intentions. In Sweden, Russia has been implicated in spreading disinformation about the country's migration policies, attempting to fuel social division. While the Faroe Islands have not seen major disinformation campaigns yet, their increasing geopolitical importance could make them a future target for Russian influence operations. Russia has been hard at work trying to spy on the Nordic nations since the fall of the Soviet Union. In example, in 2019, Norwegian authorities uncovered a Russian espionage ring that was gathering intelligence on NATO operations in the Arctic. Iceland, hosting the Keflavik airbase, has been under close Russian surveillance, with reports of Russian ships and aircraft monitoring the area. Greenland's vast natural resources, especially its rare earth elements, have attracted Russian espionage efforts aimed at gaining economic and military advantages. The Faroe Islands, due to their location along critical maritime routes, have become increasingly important for monitoring Russian naval activities and protecting energy interests. Russia has strategically exploited both far-right and far-left politicians in the Nordic countries to disseminate its propaganda and further its geopolitical goals. By aligning with far-right figures, Russia taps into nationalist and anti-immigration sentiments, pushing narratives that promote division within society and skepticism toward NATO and the European Union. Simultaneously, Russia engages with far-left politicians who oppose Western military alliances and advocate for closer ties with Moscow, framing Russia as a counterbalance to what they perceive as Western imperialism. Russia utilizes fifth-column operatives in the Nordic countries to exert pressure from within by covertly supporting individuals and groups that align with its interests. These operatives, often embedded within political, social, and cultural organizations, work to undermine national unity and promote Russian narratives by influencing local media, financing pro-Russian activists, and exploiting social divisions. They create an environment of mistrust and instability. In Finland and Åland, Russia continues to leverage historical narratives from the Soviet-Finnish conflict to exert influence over Finland and the Åland Islands. This has included the promotion of pro-Russian sentiment among certain Finnish and Åland Islander communities, emphasizing shared history to maintain influence. The Åland Islands' strategic location in the Baltic Sea, coupled with their demilitarized status, makes them a key focus for Russian historical and political influence operations. Often, Russians will harp on about how they beat Finland in the Winter War and used to exert ownership over Finland in the 1800s, completely without acknowledging that Finland bled Russia white in the Winter War. Russia and Norway have been waging a Cold War in the Arctic for decades. In 2020, Norwegian authorities reported GPS jamming in the Arctic, suspected to be Russian sabotage intended to disrupt NATO exercises. Russia also regularly disrupts communications in Svalbard. Greenland's Thule Air Base, a critical US military installation, has been a focal point for Russian espionage and potential sabotage given its strategic position in the Arctic. Iceland, given its location, has also been targeted by Russian intelligence, particularly concerning military movements and logistics. The FSB has a long track record of trying to embed Russian spies within Nordic societies. Over the years, more than 100 active agents of Russia have either been arrested and charged or exchanged with Russia, like what happened recently when NATO and Russia exchanged prisoners. In 2021, a Norwegian businessman was convicted of passing sensitive information to Russian intelligence. In 2017, a Swedish man was arrested for spying for Russia, focusing on high-tech industries with military applications. More recently, Norway arrested several Russian agents in academia and agents who had been flying drones over military and energy installations in Norway. In Sweden's 2018 general election, Russian interference was reported through social media disinformation campaigns aimed at undermining public trust in democratic institutions. In 2016, Iceland's presidential election saw efforts to spread misinformation about candidates' NATO stances. Finland's elections have also been targeted, with Russia attempting to influence public opinion on NATO membership and EU relations. In 2015 to 2016, and again at the onset of the renewed war in Ukraine, Russia facilitated the movement of migrants to Norway and Finland's borders, directing them to cross at remote border points like Storskog and Salla. This influx of migrants was seen as a form of hybrid warfare, designed to strain the border security and immigration systems of these countries, creating internal challenges and diplomatic tensions within the European Union. The use of migration as a geopolitical tool by Russia raised significant concerns about its willingness to exploit humanitarian crises for strategic gains. Russia's covert operations in the Nordic region, spanning Iceland, Åland, Greenland, the Faroe Islands, and the broader Nordic countries, are diverse and strategically targeted. From pushing migrants to Norway and Finland's borders to sophisticated espionage in military, energy, and academic sectors, Russia has employed a wide array of tactics to assert influence, gather intelligence, and destabilize these nations. The Faroe Islands and Greenland, due to their strategic locations, along with Iceland and Åland, are increasingly significant in Russia's broader strategy, which includes disinformation campaigns, cyber operations, spying, and employing extreme politicians to promote their toxic worldview. As always, I'd love to hear your feedback, and if you like this video, we'd be very thankful if you gave it a big thumbs up.